Hello, it's Jolene. I hope you've been well. Today we will go over a therapy exercise from acceptance and commitment therapy, and it's in the domain of diffusion. My last video goes over an illustration of diffusion looks like, and I'll include that in the description below. There's so many other healing practices outside of what I know and what Western society really emphasizes, which is why I want to explore more later in this channel of all the different ways we can heal. With that being said, I hope you do find this exercise helpful. I encourage you to try this exercise with me so that you have an example to follow along with. For this exercise, you're going to need a piece of paper and a pen or pencil. There are many different kinds of struggles in this life, so you can replicate this exercise with various difficult experiences that come up. For today, come up with a struggle that has been most pressing recently, maybe one that has been taking up the most space in your mind and getting in the way of what you want to be doing. For the sake of this example, I am just going to choose a common one that people may struggle with. So diffusion is all about how to handle difficult inner experiences without being led around by them. The first step of this exercise is to take a moment to reflect and write down when your mind is really beating yourself up. What is it telling you? What's wrong about you, your life, or maybe what it tells you about your future. And as you write this down, use the second person instead of the first person. So instead of writing, I am this or I am that, use the sentence stem, you are. Try to be concise and write with a purpose. So try to stick with one sentence or a phrase, a few words, so that you don't go down the rabbit hole of getting fixated by these inner experiences. The inner experiences can be thoughts, feelings, urges, memories, sensations, anything that's happening within you. And I'm just going to refer to them as thoughts or inner experiences, but know that they can mean so many different things. So I'm going to take some time to write down thoughts of a common experience that people may have. And I encourage you to follow along with me. I can share examples of what I wrote down in a little bit. So I'm going to share examples of what I wrote down regarding a struggle of being a people pleaser. What I wrote down was, you are a pushover, you are eager to please, your voice doesn't matter, you don't know what you want, you don't know who you are, you won't share who you are, and you are to blame. You say sorry too much. You are inadequate, worried, overwhelmed, and tired. So these are the thoughts that may be inside my head, kind of beating me up. And you can see if I really get hooked onto those thoughts, as if they're all that I can see, they can really run my life and affect my actions. So writing it down is already a level of separation or diffusion. Instead of it living just in your mind, you are able to see it as like a string of words. And when you say it out loud, especially in the second person, it's another level of separation from your experiences. When you ever just let the thoughts live only in your mind, it sounds so much different than when you put it to paper or when you say it out loud to someone. So there's a lot of value in externalizing these thoughts in your head. Sometimes it can even sound dramatic or silly when you say it aloud instead of letting it live in your mind, where it kind of festers into negativity. But I also never want to trivialize those thoughts. So acknowledge that they are really difficult experiences, but they can be reframed and seen in a different way. The second part of this exercise is to reflect and write down when you are hooked by these thoughts that you just wrote down. What are the costs to your life? And this often comes in the form of avoidance behaviors or misalignment with who you want to be and what's important to you. So take a moment, you can pause this and just reflect and write down, and I will do the same along with you. Okay, I've got a list going on all of the costs or consequences of letting these thoughts that I wrote down in the first step rule my life. So I wrote down sleep, extra work responsibilities from maybe taking on more work than I can from coworkers and supervisors because I can't say no, being exploited, peace of mind, not being mindful, self-neglect, and confidence. So really low self-worth and maybe a lot of self-doubt. So once you have written down the inner experiences that you struggle with and the cost of getting hooked onto these inner experiences, we are ready for step 3. Step 3 is to create a title for the experiences of this struggle in your life. As if you are an author writing a story, or maybe a producer coming up with a TV show title, or maybe a news editor coming up with a title for an article. And you can get as creative as you want. You can also add humor to this title, but also acknowledge that this is a difficult experience and not to trivialize your suffering. Humor can help so much in our coping and our ability to see things from a flexible perspective. You can take your time with this, you can change it or add to it later as well. But when you are ready, turn the page over and write the title on the other side. So my example that I chose of being a pushover, I chose the title, Yes Girl. Because for a pushover, they say yes to everything and don't know how to say no. Come up with a title that is relevant to your experience, to the thoughts that you wrote down. When you wrote down your title on the other side of the page, just take some time to push your feet against the floor and ground yourself into the present. Maybe look at your surroundings, use your 5 senses to notice things you haven't before. Maybe tune into how your body feels. It can be a lot to think about these distressing thoughts. So come back into the present instead of the past or the future where these thoughts often live, and just tune into your body and surroundings as well as your mind. The point of this is, as we think about our struggles, we often go down a rabbit hole of what these struggles are connected to. and it makes us even more anxious or depressed or overwhelmed or whatever it is that we're feeling. And this exercise stops us at the surface before going down that hole. We notice how our thoughts can be distorted in our minds, and noticing it and moving towards what matters to us. And the practice isn't over. After writing down the things that we struggle with, the consequences of getting hooked onto those thoughts, and the title to this story, anytime a thought, a feeling, or memory, whatever it is that is linked to this comes up, remember this story's title and come to the present. I encourage you to fold this piece of paper and carry it with you. You can carry it in your backpack, your purse, your wallet, and pull it out a few times a day and read it. The purpose of this is to remind you that you can take these inner experiences everywhere you go. But that doesn't stop you from living your life and doing the things that matter. By pulling this paper out and rereading these thoughts, it reminds you that you can and you will get repeatedly hooked onto these thoughts. But when you fold it back up, it reminds you that you can unhook. When you put it away, it reminds you that unhooking isn't avoiding or repressing. You're not burning this piece of paper up or throwing it in the trash. It's a way to take power out of these thoughts. You can look at them in flexible ways and also live more aligned with how you want to be. It would be interesting if you keep this piece of paper, how you would see these inner experiences maybe weeks, months, or even years from now, and see the difference maybe in how you can reframe the thoughts in your mind. So that was it. Usually when I present this with people, I prefer to have a back and forth conversation and to leave time during and after the exercise. So if you like, please share in the comments what that was like for you. And I encourage you to process with someone and get some individualized support if you can. Thank you so much for sticking it out this long, and in conclusion, this exercise reminds me of a narrative therapy standpoint in which you are the author and main character of your story. There's a lot of personal agency and choice in that way of viewing life, and I wish you the best in accepting what's outside of your control and taking power where you can. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you'd like to see more mental health content. And as always, I wish you the best in taking care of yourself. See you.